Wow, that's amazing. What's next?
Now let's go to Neptune, the last planet from the Sun. Neptune is an ice giant. It's called an ice giant because it's predominantly made of ice and is huge. It's so big that you can actually fit about 60 Earths into it. To give you a better idea, if the Earth was the size of a pea, then Neptune would be the size of a ping pong ball.
Why is that planet so blue?
Yes, the dark blue clouds of Neptune are a complete mystery. No one really knows what they're made of. And also, because Neptune is so far away from the Sun, it takes about 164 years to complete an orbit.
The solar system looks large from here. Is there anything even bigger than the solar system?
Of course, our solar system is just a point compared to the galaxy that we are in. A galaxy is a collection of stars, and our galaxy has about 200 billion stars. That's how big our galaxy is. And our galaxy is called the Milky Way. Apparently, there is a huge supermassive black hole at the center of our galaxy, and all the stars in it are going around it.
Wow, I can't believe I'm standing on another planet. Everything is so red out here.
I know, it is, isn't it? It's because of a chemical called iron oxide. It's similar to rust. You can say that Mars is rusting. Hey, look at that. That's one of the rovers that we've sent to Mars.
To answer that, we need to go long back in time. Around 4.6 billion years ago, when our solar system was just a cloud of gas and dust particles. All of a sudden, a random disturbance came along and caused some of these particles to clump up and form a ball. And this ball grew bigger and bigger, and hotter, and finally formed what we call the Sun. Similarly, other such particles clumped up to form other planets, from the closest one, that is Mercury, Venus, our own Earth, and many other planets, starlights, dwarf planets, etc., to form what we call the solar system.
This is the experiment. Now, I want you to imagine that I am floating somewhere in space, and that bright light over there is the Sun. This white ball is the Moon, and I am the Earth. So if this is the Moon and I am the Earth, it goes around. It goes around the Earth like this. But the thing is, it's not exactly like this. What I mean is that the plane of revolution of the Moon is slightly tilted. What that basically looks like is like this. So the Moon moves around. Now, let's look at what the Moon will look like as it goes around the Earth from the Earth's point of view. Or in other words, what the Moon will look like as it goes around from my point of view. Let's say this is the first position in its cycle. As you see, it's just in between the Earth and the Moon, so therefore you can't really see it from the Earth, right? Because the side of the Moon that's lit is facing the other way. So it's just impossible to see the Moon when it's like this, okay? But then the Moon starts moving, right? It starts revolving around the Earth. So in about 3 days or so, it comes to this position. Now you see that you can see a part of the Moon, right? A part of the side that's facing us is lit, a very small portion, and it's curved like this. This phase is called the crescent moon. It's very common, very popular. More specifically, it's the waxing crescent. Now, of course, you can ask me why it's called the waxing crescent. I'll explain that a little later. But understand that this is the crescent moon. Okay? Now, the moon starts moving again, or it continues to move in its cycle. And in about 3 days' time, it reaches this portion, or this phase. This phase is called the first quarter, because the moon has completed approximately about a quarter of its cycle. And what you see is just that half of the side that's facing us is lit, exactly half, right? Okay, the moon keeps moving again. This phase is called the waxing gibbous. In this phase, you see that about 3/4 of the side that's facing us is lit, or a little more than half of the side that's facing us is lit. Now, in this portion, we see probably the most popular phase of them all, maybe even the most beautiful. You see that the side that's facing us is completely lit, and this phase is called the full moon. In this position, the moon has completed exactly half of its cycle, so now it starts coming back towards the sun. And in about 3 days or so, this phase is what it reaches, and this is called the waning gibbous. Now again, it's a gibbous because about 3/4 of the side that's facing us is lit again. But it's waning gibbous because it's on the other side now. And again, why exactly waning? I will explain that a little later. As the moon moves even further, the next phase we reach is called the third quarter. And in this phase, exactly half of the side that's facing us is lit again, just like the first quarter. Now, this phase is called the third quarter because the moon has completed approximately 3/4 of its cycle around the Earth. As it moves further, it reaches a phase called the waning crescent. Again, this is very similar to the waxing crescent, but the difference being it's on the other side. And finally, the moon reaches the position where it all began, the phase called the new moon. So after this, the cycle just continues to repeat.